Okay, one more time, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Just a quick note, please mute yourself. Please mute your microphone unless you're speaking. We've got a lot of people here tonight, which is really excellent. There is going to be time toward the end for people to ask questions. If you think of a question right away while we're talking, that's great. Please send it to me in the chat, and I'm going to do my best to work that in to our Q&A toward the end. So I'm Erin. I work in the Bridge program at LaGuardia. This is a STEM career panel for our adult and continuing education students. I know we have students from the Bridge and the CLIP programs and a few others here tonight, and I'm really glad to see you all. Thank you for joining us, and thank you especially to our panelists for being here today, especially during a really eventful and stressful week. I appreciate your time a lot that you're taking.
Hello.
To do that with us. Hi, Sabina. So just a note about the agenda. Sorry, if you haven't muted your microphone, could you please mute it? Thanks. So what we're going to do, we'll go through some questions. I have questions that I've collected from our students over the past couple of days that I'll be posing to each of our panelists. We're going to take 15 or 20 minutes towards the end for additional questions from anybody who is listening. So if you're thinking of something and you want to write it down or you want to send it to me in the chat, that's great. And then toward the end of tonight, we are going to hear from Brian Mason, who's from LaGuardia's Center for Career and Professional Development, who's going to be talking a little bit more about job searching and networking during COVID. But for now, I want to just take a moment to introduce our panelists. I believe everybody's here except for Barbara, who's going to be joining us at 6:30. So what I will ask as my first question to all of you, just could you please take a minute to briefly introduce yourself, introduce the work that you do now, and tell us one thing that you really love about your current career. I know that's something that our students are interested in. So tell us who you are, what you do for work, and what is something about your career that you love. Lainey, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead first. So, hi everybody. My name is Lainey Marte. I am the recruiting and admissions manager for Empower. Empower is a nonprofit organization. Our main goal is to create pathways for young adults into the technology field. And in order for us to help our students achieve that, essentially we offer a free 6-month program where we teach you the fundamentals of IT. So everything about hardware, software, networking, troubleshooting. We pay for students to acquire their certification so they get certified, and then we place them at a paid internship or give them direct hire opportunity into the technology field or give them project-based work. All of the opportunities that we provide to our students is with the goal or the end goal for our students to start their career in the tech field. The program is free. One thing that I love about my job and what I do is the fact that I get to see so much growth with young adults. I have students that come in making like a $15 per hour job and we help them find a career, a position making $30 per hour, going from like $30,000 a year to going to $55,000 a year. So it's very motivating, very rewarding place to work at and be. And with that being said, I'm going to introduce you to one of my alumni and current Empower staff members, Joseph Rodriguez.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joseph Rodriguez. I work for Empower as the lead technical instructor in Empower's Harlem location. I'm also a 2-time alumni of Empower's Tech Fundamentals program, as well as their cloud computing program. Currently, my favorite part about my job would have to be helping out all the students, people who were just like me a couple of years ago when I was a student in their seats, watching them grow from these young individuals who may have been green before to becoming actual full-fledged technicians.
Great, thank you both. Whoever would like to go next can take the floor.
Good evening, and Aaron, I want to thank you for inviting me back again. My first name is Paisley. My last name is Demby. I'm the Business Services Director for the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. And in our program, what we do is we provide training, business advisement, and access to capital for existing business owners looking to take their business to the next level. In addition to my day job at LaGuardia, I also run a consulting business, and I'm the co-founder for the New York Startup Business Plan Competition, where I train upwards of 500 entrepreneurs annually in business planning, marketing, developing financial statements, and also pitching. What I love about my job most is working with small businesses, getting them to that aha moment where they can actually see an outcome for their business that they hadn't considered before, and then ultimately changing their economics, which helps their family, helps their local community, and just it's a fun day when that happens.
Thank you.
I can go next.
Great.
Hello, everybody. My name is Christy Stagner. I'm a human immunology research specialist at the Drucker Institute for Children's Medicine, which is part of Cornell School of Medicine. And I'm also currently a healthcare genetics PhD graduate student at Clemson University. My dissertation research really focuses on the contribution of the father to disease in the child. And my master's work previously focused on looking at genetic variants and their contribution to breast cancer risk. I have to say that kind of one of my favorite things about my day-to-day life is that there are a lot of exciting moments in science, really from the small ones when like an experiment works out, or when you find some contribution to a therapeutic that might actually help people in the near future. It's also even having a paper accepted, which you've been working on for a long time. Just knowing that, I had the opportunity to be involved in work that might make a real difference in people's lives. I find that to be very fulfilling and also very exciting.
Excellent. Thank you, Christy. And I think Christine, you're our next panelist.
Thank you. So first, I would like to start by congratulating all of you who are here for being part of the Bridge and the CLIP programs. It says something about you that you are here and that you are participating in these truly excellent programs. And I wanted to start by congratulating you on your taking the initiative to do something for yourselves and your families, and to improve your education and to move forward. And now you are ready to go on to another step, and you're going to go and make some choices. Here are some beautiful things being presented regarding tech, regarding business, regarding science. And now I'm going to talk to you about healthcare. So, a lot of choices to be made, and opportunities await you because you've done something for yourselves and not sat on the couch eating donuts like some other people. So I say congratulations to you, okay? Pat yourselves on the back, okay, for doing what you're doing, okay? So, I'm director of pre-hospital care, which is the emergency medical technician, paramedic, and medical assisting programs here at the college. And, I worked as an EMT and paramedic in Midtown Manhattan and sometimes in Brooklyn. Probably the most fun career I could imagine at the time. While working in, I worked out of Times Square. I was assigned to 42nd Street and 7th Avenue on the ambulance. And, it was a lot of independent work. Every day was a new adventure, I got to tell you. Every day was a new adventure. You never know what type of situation you're going to be presented with. And you really have to have your wits about you, know your skills, have the knowledge to serve the community and the patients properly. And I have to say, it was a lot of fun. It was hard, very hard, but I really enjoyed it. And whatever career you decide to pick, I hope you pick something that suits you, that works for you, not something that somebody tells you you should do, not that what your mother wants you to do, but that works for you. Now, working in healthcare, clinical healthcare, which is all my programs are, you know, you're working with patients who are sick and they're injured. And if you don't like the sight of blood, and you don't like to see sick people, and you can't stand bad smells, and you know, you don't like to have your anxiety levels brought up, then maybe clinical healthcare is not for you. Okay. But if you like to help people and you can, you know, keep that managed under control, then maybe it is for you. Some people are drawn to it and they love it, like me and some of my students. But maybe for, like, I know some members of my family, they think that they know they don't go anywhere near it. They'd rather be in law or business or something else. So if you're interested in EMT, paramedic, or medical assisting, I am the person to help you with that.
Great, thank you so much for that, Christine. So for our next questions, I think I'm going to go ahead. This is another question for the whole group, but just so that nobody gets confused, I'll just go ahead and we'll go in the same order as what we just did, if that's okay. So the next question I have for the whole panel is two parts. Can you tell us about how your past experiences, so those can be education, other jobs you've had, your life experience, anything that's relevant, how have those past experiences led you to the place you're in now? I know that many people sometimes have a kind of a winding journey in their career, and I think we're really interested in hearing about that. So that's the first part of the question. The second part, if you did have some kind of aha moment or some kind of, realization that you were in the work you wanted to be doing, or that you really knew that this is something that was for you, if you could share that with us as well, that would be great. I know that doesn't apply to everybody, but if it does for you, that's another question that I got a few times from our students. So I think we'll start in the same order. So I'll give it to you, Lainey.
Thank you. So one of the things I always tell people, well, let me give a background on my educational background. I went to Birmingham Community College. I acquired my associate's degree, and then I got in criminal justice, and then I got my bachelor's at John Jay in forensic psychology. I did very briefly work in my field as a counselor for mental illness and substance abuse, parents and children. And after working the remote for a brief couple of months, I decided that that was not for me. So something that I always tell students or young adults when speaking is to do a lot of research, check whatever internship opportunities are available. One of the things that I have learned a lot in my experiences working and in general is the importance of networking and always making sure to never burn any bridges and always do a good job wherever you go. Whether that is you're working temporarily in retail right now, or you acquire a position very briefly somewhere else, never leave in bad terms, because your work speaks for itself and that will open opportunities for you wherever you go. And the reason why I say this is while I was going to college full-time, I started I always went to school full-time, and I always needed to work. I needed to have a job. I couldn't afford to not have a job. I didn't have the privilege or the opportunity for my parents to pay for my things. So while working, I had to go school full-time and working full-time as well. So I was able to figure out balance both. And while working full-time, I started part-time at Best Buy. I moved my way up towards Best Buy. I started from sales, seasonal, part-time, full-time sales, management, leadership, and essentially I started doing recruiting and working in HR at a corporate level at Best Buy. And that's something that progressed throughout the years. And that's how I ended up working at Empower. I've been here since 2018. And it's just crazy how one door opens the other door. And again, that's something I can speak and emphasize. Wherever you go, make sure you do a great job. Always leave in good terms, make an impact, because people will never forget you and they will always think about you. They will always be willing to give you a lending hand and help you with opportunities. Same thing with our program right now. We have our students, those students that maybe they don't know a lot about tech, they don't have a background in tech, they have no support, but they're eager to learn. They try, they reach out, they have questions, they do everything that they have to do. We see it and we want those students to succeed. We want to provide you with whatever opportunities we can. And those are the students that do really well within the program and end up working for our high-end partners, which range from Google, New York Times, Citi, Bank of America, Columbia University, and many other companies that are our partners. So I emphasize working hard, networking. Again, if you ever need help, seeking help, never stay in a standstill. You want to always try to do your best. And if you don't know, that's fine. We're here at the end of the day to help you, right? You all came over here today to see what would be your next step or what would be additional opportunities for you. So I believe Christine said it. I applaud all of you guys for being here today. And again, always work hard, do a good job, leave a good impression. Even if you don't like the job, you work hard, show it that you're capable of doing it, and then you move on, and leave in good terms. So that would be my advice or to answer that question. Erin, let me know if I answered that well.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Joseph, the same question to you.
Would you just repeat the question one more time to make sure I understand it?
Totally. Yeah. So it's, can you tell a little bit about how your past experiences in education or work or just life have led you to where you are today? And then if you had kind of a discovery moment or like a realization moment that you were doing the work that you really loved, what was that for you? When did you realize that you really were in the right place?
All right. So first things first, I actually ended up dropping out of high school in the 10th grade. So I had a bit of a rough time in my early adult life, just trying to get through job to job, working retail, working as a housekeeper or handyman. But I realized really early on that that's not something that I wanted to do with my life. When I was in high school, I actually wanted to be a teacher. So I realized, there's not a lot you can do without getting your high school diploma or the equivalency. So thankfully, I was able to find a nonprofit very close to where I lived, and they helped me to get that. They also helped me additionally with resume writing skills, time management skills, even public speaking skills. The reason why I'm able to speak today in front of all you guys and to all my students every single day is thanks to them. Shortly after that, that's when I discovered NPower. And I received probably the best advice I've ever could have received from NPower, which is to be humble. Be humble of every experience that comes your way. Be humble of any person who can offer something to you, because you never know if that person will come back into your life with some kind of offer. I have done, I think, 5 or 6 classes now at this point. And in each class, there's somebody who I had who was previously in my life before. In my first class, I went to elementary school with one of my students. In another class, I went to high school with another one of my students. So you never know who's going to come back. And so being humble was one of the most important lessons that I could have ever gotten. The second important lesson was to be hungry. You should never come to a point in your career where you're complacent. Because when you're complacent, that means you're static, you're not growing. So you need to figure out what's the next thing you want to do in your life. One of the reasons why I love tech is because there's always something more for me to do. Just recently, I got my Security Plus certification, which is my 9th certification overall. I'm working towards Solutions Architect, which is an Amazon Web Service certification next. My aha moment, how I knew that this is what I wanted to do, was my first graduation with my first class. Having the parents come up to me and thank them the same way that my parents went up to my instructors and thanked them was a surreal moment for me. But at that moment, that's when I knew that this is exactly what I want to do for probably the rest of my life. Hopefully I answered that question well.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Paisley, I'll hand it to you.
Okay, oftentimes when people look at my resume, they look at it as if I had strategically organized and planned the whole thing, but that's not what happened. I'm originally from Baltimore. I was raised by a single mother. My mother had a high school diploma, but she's probably one of the smartest people I've ever met. And up until the ninth grade, I was making C's and D's and just really just not taking education seriously. And by the time I got to the ninth grade, the principal told me that he was going to keep me in remedial classes. So I got pissed off and started making straight A's. I got involved in sports. And through some, I'll just say some prayers of my mother, I was introduced to a coach at Brown University, and I matriculated at Brown. And my high school guidance counselor told me that because I was good in math and science, I should study electrical engineering, which is, I didn't realize at the time was one of the hardest majors. And I really struggled. And I took a year off from school and I did several internships, one at IBM, one at Westinghouse. I sold vacuum cleaners door to door. I worked at General Motors on the assembly line. And someone said to me, you know, you have a personality. You know, most engineers, they said, you have a personality. Have you ever thought about taking up business? So when I got back to school, I changed my major to computer engineering and economics, and then started getting really good grades in economics and graduated from Brown. My first job out of Brown University was working on Wall Street at JP Morgan. I used to develop foreign exchange trading systems for our FX desk. And while working on that desk, I was there for roughly about 5 years. And my boss one day said, you know, we have to develop your skill set. So he put me into a C++ class. And I remember looking at this huge monitor, and the fonts on the screen were really, really, really small, and just started giving me a headache during the day. And I said, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life, being in technology. So I applied to graduate school, and I was accepted into the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. And when I got there, there were two tracks. One was the banking track, and one was the consulting track. And so at the time, I couldn't make my mind up. So I started interviewing for both and was blessed to get offers in both. And then decided that I didn't want to work 110 hours at an investment bank. So I took a job working at Accenture doing international strategy for investment banks. So when one bank was thinking about acquiring another bank, my boss would go into the meetings and talk to the CEOs of the bank, then come back and tell me that I had to put the research together and the deck for him to present. And while I was at Accenture, I had classmates from the Wharton School. They called me up. Two friends of mine created a company called PayMyBills.com. And they kept calling me up, asking me questions. And so I finally said to them, you know, why are you calling me when you have so many other smart people here that are studying small business and entrepreneurship? And they said, you give us the best advice. And it was almost like that was a major aha moment. And so what I did then was I quit my job at Accenture and I created a consulting business. And I started out writing business plans. Then from writing business plans, I went to raising capital, and then got involved with economic development, working with small business development organizations, economic development corporations, and launched the Queen Startup Business Plan Competition and also the New York Startup Business Plan Competition. So if any of you have an idea that you want to see launch and you're an aspiring entrepreneur, if you live in the borough of Queens, you can enter the Queens Business Plan Competition. I believe first prize is $15,000. And if you live in the Bronx, Manhattan, or Staten Island, you can enter the New York Startup Business Plan Competition. They typically kick off around September of every year. And if you have any questions concerning small business development, strategy, marketing, sales, operations, or finance, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Christy.
I don't know if I can follow everyone else up. These have been amazing accounts of people's paths through life. But I feel like if I had to put a heading on my kind of work and life path, I would say non-traditional. I started off when I was young. I grew up in a family where I really didn't have any family members that had ever gone to college. My family members were very, very religious and somewhat cloistered. And so education wasn't something that was particularly encouraged or a goal to be sought after. So I got through high school. I basically did well in high school. I didn't try very hard, but I did relatively well in high school, but I didn't have any goals of, proceeding on, going on to college. Then I got out in the workplace and, I was doing the things that I was qualified for, which was, cleaning, just jobs that I was finding very, very dissatisfying. So it wasn't until I was 25 that I came to the realization, oh, I really need to look into further education. I went into an associate's program. I did amazingly well. And I took some science courses and I was like, this is really fascinating. From that point on, I actually got into a program. It was a private college. And I went into an engineering program. I didn't know anything about engineering. It sounded fascinating to me. I had some friends that, were following that line of study, and I thought that sounds good to me. But when I got there, I struggled so hard. I was not doing well in the coursework. And I said, education, yes, but being an engineer, no. I don't think this is the path I want to follow. So I decided to leave. I went back to the Albany area. I was living with my sister, and I knew I wanted to continue with my education, but I kind of didn't have a clue what I was going to do. So then someone just happened to mention to me, hey, do you know that if you work at this college as a secretary or at any job in this college, you can get tuition for free? And I said, oh, really? So I said, well, I have to get a job at this college then. So I went, I got a secretarial job, and that kind of started my whole path. I would say in the last 15 years, there's been, I think, a year and a half in which I was not working and going to school at the same time. So that's been my path. I worked as a secretary, and I went through my undergraduate degree. I graduated. I then was working in a lab. I started working in a lab. This was a great story because I actually kind of figured out in my undergraduate degree that I really was loving science because I got this great opportunity from a professor to work with her over a couple of summers. She let me do like evening hours when I wasn't working. I was able to go and work in her lab, and that kind of gave me the fire to understand that, wow, this is really fun. This is really interesting. And she did that with accommodating my schedule. She opened up a door for me. And from there, like I said, from that point forward, I was always working in like a scientific environment during the day. And at the same time, finding ways to work through my master's program, and now I'm in my PhD program and still working full time. So I would say for me that education opens doors. It opens up opportunities, and that you should never turn down any opportunity. You should let whoever is around you. You should let them know, hey, I'm open to any opportunity. I'm open to trying anything. I'll give it my all. Because when you do that, it really does make things possible that people say, oh, that's not possible. Well, it is possible. And I would say that I think an earlier person had said you need to show that you're hungry. And I think that's true too. You really have to show that you are willing to do anything. You're willing to be the last person to leave, the first person to come in, and take care of the mice or whatever needs to be done. You're the person that's going to do it, and they can count on you. That goes a long way. And then it also allows people to think about you for like later opportunities. I would say whatever you set your mind to, whatever you feel passionate about, don't give up. Doesn't matter how old you are or what obstacles are in your way. You can, if you let those around you know that this is what you want, it will happen. Doors will open for you. People will mentor you. People will make opportunities available to you. So just know that. Be secure in knowing that people will help you.
Excellent. That's great. Great advice. Thank you. Christine, I know you touched on this a bit in your first answer, but anything to add here about your path?
Well, I would just say that you want to look at a career pathway where you don't get stuck in a position where you can't move forward. Now, in emergency medical technician, for example, I started as an EMT in Manhattan and Brooklyn, went to paramedic school, became a paramedic, became an instructor here at LaGuardia, then became the coordinator here at LaGuardia, then the director. But there's many paths that people can take in clinical healthcare in which you can add certifications, add licenses and training. You can go in a clinical way, in other words, improve your clinical knowledge and how to deal with patients, or you could go educationally and become an educator, or you could become an administrator or a supervisor. So there's different paths. Just because you start out as working with patients doesn't mean you have to spend your whole career doing that. You could later become a trainer of nurses or EMTs or paramedics, or become a supervisor, or move into hospital administration. So when you look at, healthcare career paths, you can start in one. If you really, really love dealing with patients, you could, I know people who started out as EMTs and they're doctors now, where they're physician assistants, where they're nurses, where they're paramedics. So it depends, what is your love? If that is your love, dealing with patients, you can do that. You can go into administrative work, or you can go into educational work. So there's many opportunities there for people. And when you start, maybe you're not sure which way you want to go. But when you get into it and you start doing it, for me, I love the teaching. And then I loved, the administrative part here at the college and working with education, working with students. So for you, you may get into something and say, you know what, I really like this, but I think that I want to go in the clinical direction, paramedic, or I'd rather be in the hospital. Maybe I'll go from paramedic to physician assistant work in the hospital. So there's so many avenues for you to explore, and you don't have to think that you're gonna, the first stepping stone is the last, right? There's many ways that you can move forward. Certainly Paisley gave you some examples of where he started and went down so many different avenues to get where he ended up. So, it's a journey, right? Where you're starting in one place and you can look forward to where it is you want to get to from there. So that's what I did. I went from one step to another, and I loved every minute of it. I think it's important that you love what you do. Then you feel like, you enjoyed your life because you love doing what you're doing. And I have to tell you, okay, because I want to give you some historical perspective. I have two brothers, and my father said, I don't think girls really need to go to college. Okay, my brother a year younger, brother a year older. He was going to send them, but not me. And my mother wouldn't agree to that. She said, no, she's got to go too. So that college education made the difference for me to get to where I am. So, but back in the day, you see this gray hair, I'm not all that young. Right? You guys see that, right? I got somebody laughing over here. So, back in the day, it wasn't, my father said, oh, she'll be a secretary. She doesn't need a college education. But I did, and it worked, and it will work for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, for sharing that.
Hi, I would like to say something towards the comment from Christine.
Sure.
Hi, Christine. So I sympathize with your story. My name is Ana Dicenso. I'm a medical assistant and I work for Mount Sinai Hospital. And so, the story really touched me because I've been a medical assistant for 22 years. And so I still don't have my GED. So unfortunately, in the medical field, there's a lot of other positions where you need to go to college to go into RN, PA, anything else in the medical field. I was lucky enough that I was, even without my high school diploma, I was able to go to a private school where I paid for. And I went there for like 60 months and I got my medical assistant diploma. And so I was lucky that I got a job right away. And so I've been working as a medical assistant for the past 21, 22 years. And so what I wanted to mention is that I did go to the bridge program last year and I did take the exam. I passed everything except the math. So you get very disappointed. I didn't pass the math by a few points. So I was very disappointed. And so now, unfortunately, I'm out of work on workers' comp because I had an injury at work where I fractured my spine and I have some issues with my knees. But I'm still looking forward to going back to work as soon as I recover. And so I always had in mind that I wanted to do my RN, and that's one of the reasons why I was struggling to pass the GED, because I wanted to do my RN. So I learned a lot of things and I saw many things with this experience with COVID that we're going through. And so I kind of totally changed my mind. And as much as I do love working with patients, I changed my mind about becoming an RN, but I still want to go back and do the coding because for the past 6 years, I can say it, I also been a authorization coordinator for the outpatient clinic for Mount Sinai. And so I've been working with health insurance and coding with patients to approve their medications and radiology, a lot of things like that. So I am so blessed in a way and so happy that this program came along now and I was able to do these classes while I'm home now. And so I can get this diploma ready. And when I'm ready to go back to work, as soon as I heal from my injuries, I can go straight into coding and move on.
Well, there's a lot of opportunities available and I'm glad you're taking advantage of them. Good for you.
Yes, yes, of course. Thank you.
Good for you.
Thank you, Anna, for sharing that. I think both of you, that was kind of a good segue. I want to introduce our next panelist who's just joined us, who also works in the healthcare field. Varvara, could you, we've been talking about our paths. So how did we get to where we are today? Could you just share with us, introduce yourself and share with us, what do you do now and what was your journey like? How did you, what kind of twists and turns did you take?
Thank you, Erin, and hi, everyone. Actually, very interesting that a lot of you mentioned your journey. I always resonate with Christine because it's very similar to what I experienced. So I'm an immigrant and I came to this country in 2006 and I didn't have my high school diploma from my country, but no college education, only a few courses. And I wasn't sure what to do. And I was told, hey, you should try nursing because everybody likes nurses, they get jobs. It's all amazing. And I thought it was interesting because both of my parents are in healthcare field. So I thought, okay, why not? So I went to LaGuardia Community College and I got into the RN program. And after graduating with my associate's degree, I went on to get my bachelor's degree at Hunter College, still CUNY. Meanwhile, I worked at college and I paid for my own education. I was an international student, so we don't really get a lot of financial support. So it was a big, difficult journey. And I was not able to secure a RN position because I kept having children. So it was very hard with when I had children and when I had school and work. So it was a little too much. And I knew I wasn't able to work as an RN, especially that there was a hiring freeze at the time of my graduation. So I just kept going to school. I went back to get my bachelor's degree. And then by luck, I got hired by the nursing department where I got my degree, which is LaGuardia Community College. And this is where I stayed ever since. And my path, not working with patients, my path was working with students. Since then, I teach courses, I work with students, I advise students. I currently am pursuing my master's. I'm almost done with my master's in nursing education. And I'm really passionate about teaching. I'm very passionate about teaching, specifically nursing students, because they, all these students are so smart and they're so passionate and they want to do, they really want to be nurses. And, you know, this is the work in the medical profession is really a dedication. And I think that those of you who are interested, and if you do plan to go to the nursing program, remember that we here at LaGuardia, we not only offer registered nursing program, we also offer the 10-month licensed practical nursing program. So that was my journey. And then that's where it took me. It took me from wanting to become a nurse and working with the patients to education.
Thank you very much. So I want to leave as much time as possible for questions from the students who are in the audience, just because we have so many people here tonight. So I want to give everybody a few minutes to just think about something you might like to ask one of our panelists or all of our panelists. You can write it down if you like. You can type it into the chat also if you prefer, or if you can't use your microphone. I'm going to start with a couple of questions I got anonymously from my survey to students, and also a couple I've seen in the chat this evening. And then I'll turn it over to our students to see if anybody has some others they'd like to ask. So the first question, this is probably for Lainey or Joseph or both of you. We have a student who asks, what technical skills can I obtain to advance my skills with computers? She says, I went to school for computers in 1987, but that was a long time ago. So what would you recommend for people who maybe have a background in computer science from some time ago and are looking to re-enter that field?
I'll begin. So for our program, the Tech Fundamentals program, it is limited to a certain for young adults between the ages of 18 to 25. However, there are other organizations that do not have an age limit. So for example, one of them is Per Scholas. So if there's an adult that would like to refresh on the technological skills or get back into the field, they can seek out Per Scholas again, which is another nonprofit. It's free. And it helps students acquire their A+ certification or refresh the technological skills to join the field. Another recommendation as well, there are a lot of different programs online that are free, sort of like boot camps, refreshers. Joseph, if you would like to add more on those.
So all the resources for getting the certifications that we give are online. What we offer is an instructor-led program. And so I personally was a student myself, so I understand it. Not everybody learns the same way. Like, for example, I'm like very hands-on. I like to see the things and touch the things that I like to learn with. But all the resources are there if you're interested. There's a guy on YouTube. His name is Professor Messer. He does the entire CompTIA trifecta, which is the A+, the Network Plus, and the Security Plus. All three are very good certifications. So you can check out his series of YouTube videos. They've all helped me get those 3 certifications.
Excellent, thank you both. I see a couple questions in the chat, which I will get to. I want to ask one more that I got before we started tonight. which was, I think for Paisley. So you mentioned when you were speaking about some opportunities for people who are interested in maybe starting their own small business, particularly in Queens. This person asked, are there any such programs in Brooklyn that are similar that you might recommend?
Yes, the Brooklyn Business Library runs a business plan competition. It's called the Power Up Business Plan Competition. So if you go to the Brooklyn Business Library or speak with one of the Brooklyn libraries, they should be able to direct you to that resource. Also in Brooklyn, there are economic development corporations, and the city has a program that's run by the Department of Small Business Services. They're called, what are they called? They're called, let me see, Department of Small Business Services, SBS, Small Business Solution Centers. And the Small Business Solution Centers, you can go in and meet with the counselor and discuss your business idea free of charge. There's also a Small Business Development Center in Brooklyn, where again, you can meet with a business advisor free of charge to flesh out your idea. They provide you with assistance in writing a business plan, getting access to capital, developing marketing plans. I mean, this is probably one of the best times in history to be an entrepreneur because there's so many resources. And one thing I'll also tell you about is, in addition to the Brooklyn Business Plan Competition, there are pitch competitions that are run all over the country. There's over $3 million in cash awards for pitch competitions. You don't even have to write a full business plan. You just have to create a good pitch. So again, if you're interested in becoming an entrepreneur, I can assist you with the plan. I can assist you with pitching. I run Pitch Camp for the Goldman Sachs program. We take people that have a fear of public speaking and get them to stand up in front of large groups and speak and pitch confidently. And one thing I do want to mention is when I first started my business, I also taught at Drake Business School. I don't know if you guys remember Drake, Give Me a Break. And at that time, I used to have the biggest fear of public speaking, but having to go into that classroom every single day and get the attention and respect of adult learners on a daily basis actually formed the basis for my speaking skills now. And now I get up on pretty large stages and use the same techniques that I developed in that teaching opportunity. So if you have a fear of public speaking, you can do Toastmasters, that's one option. Or number two, you can take up a part-time position being a part-time teacher.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll read another question from our chat. It says, after finishing my high school diploma, I want to go for licensed practical nursing. What do I have to do in order to join the classes? What are the requirements? So either Barbara or Christine, can you offer anything on that?
I can take that, Christine, if you're okay with that. So I work for nursing department, and we work with a lot of practical students. You do really need to get the diploma, high school diploma or the equivalent, and then you just apply to LaGuardia as a student. From there, they evaluate where you're starting, whether you need to take any additional courses such as basic skills, math, or English, depending where you are. And from there, you should be able to start taking college courses. So for licensed practical nursing, you only really need to take the total of 6 college courses, and the rest of them would be licensed practical nursing clinical courses. The program itself, once you get accepted to the clinical phase of the program, is 10 months. You start in September, you're done in June, you're graduating. So you will earn a certificate and you're able to sit down for a licensure test. So once you get accepted to the college, you need to take 4 courses in order to apply for the clinical phase. And in that case, you need to get English 101, general psychology, anatomy and physiology, and medical dosages calculations. And in those courses, you should get at least 2.5 GPA in order to be considered for the program. The program accepts students once a year, and they accept about 90 students once a year. So you have a pretty good chance to get accepted. And again, it only is 10 months. So it's pretty quick. And from there, we also offer bridge program where you, when you're ready, you can transition from LPN to the RN program and earn your associate's degree here at LaGuardia.
Thank you. That's very helpful. So I'm just checking our chat again to see what we have. Okay, I don't know. Nobody has talked about this yet, but everybody has had such interesting journeys that I will throw it out to the group. Somebody asks, is anyone here from the fashion field? And if so, I would love to look into going into FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. Any tips? So, you know, anybody who has that background, I welcome that feedback, or maybe for this person, just some general tips on transferring to a 4-year program from an HSE program. If not, that's okay. I can connect with this person afterward to see what we might.
If anything, I can just throw it out there that if you do plan to go for a 4-year degree, what you can take here at LaGuardia would be liberal arts, just a liberal arts major, social science and humanities. And then in that case, you'll just get your core general education courses. And then when you transfer to a 4-year school, if you have a good GPA, you got all your courses, then you can get only 2 years of whatever your major is. And then from there, you can get something from sure which 4-year schools offer it.
Thank you. That's a great point. Thank you.
I can also add from Empower, even though we focus on technology, please keep in mind that there's a tech field wherever you go, whether it's the fashion industry, the finance industry, educational, health industry. There's always an IT or a tech department. So this is something that you can take with you wherever you go, and that you can apply. It's like a technical skill that can be used anywhere. So I highly encourage you to do more research. Again, whether you think you're not technological or you don't know much, as long as you have to drive and you want to learn, think about it. Use technology every day, your computer, your smartphone, your play video games. Like, you are more than capable. So I would definitely recommend to look into it. A lot of entry-level positions for the tech field start at $48,000 and up just for entry level. So it's a great field to be at. And obviously, we're becoming more and more technologically based, and everything is with IT nowadays. Technology, smart TV, smart cars, smart everything. So definitely seek what positions are in the fashion field and with tech, and go from there.
Thank you. Excellent.
I have one piece that I'd like to add.
Mm-hmm.
The Goldman Sachs program actually partnered with the Tory Burch Foundation. And one thing I advise any person in any field is contact individuals that are currently working in the field to do information interviews. See if you can line up as many as you can, because if you want to get insight into a career, the best resource is to speak to someone that's already in the field, working in that job on a day-to-day basis. And the Tory Burch program, they actually have a network of women that are in fashion, that when you connect with the Tory Burch Foundation, they will connect you to all those other individuals. And also look at associations that cover the fashion industry. There may be the National Association of Fashion Designers. There's a resource at the library. It's called the Encyclopedia of Associations, and it will list out all the associations that are affiliated with the fashion industry. And through the associations, you can get contacts of individuals that are working in the field, again, for those information interviews. Some of them may even invite you for a day on the job, so you can actually sit right beside them while they're working in the field. So again, you can have a taste for what the career is like before going through the education, getting in the field, only to find out that maybe it's not ideal for you.
Excellent points as well. Thank you for bringing that up. I have another question in the chat. It says, can anyone shed some light on a mental health career?
Okay. Well, I think there's, that is a very wide area when you're talking about mental health. I was doing some research into the different certifications for mental health providers for people in New York City. And I found that I had to make a list of the different types of certifications that people can have in that area. So it is quite complex, and it would take me some time, more than we have here, to give you some information on that. But if you were to send me an email at I'm gonna give you a I'm gonna put it in the chat, okay? An email address, and I can send you the list of credentials that mental health practitioners have, and what they need to do to get those credentials, because I've already made that paper up, and I can send it to you. Okay, so I'm going to put my email in the chat, and it's also the email for my program. So if any of you are interested in the EMT program or the medical assistant program, you can just write to that mailbox and get information. So I'm going to put it in the chat. But it is quite a complex list of certifications you can get with different types of training from different places. Sorry that it's such a long thing to say, but it's a little bit complicated.
That's fine. No, I think it's a great point. It is a really wide field.
I can add a little bit more. I absolutely agree, because mental health is, you know, it could be psychiatry, psychology, counseling, substance abuse. So it's a lot. But we do have in LaGuardia, in our health sciences department, we do have a human services mental health major. So this is more related, it's more towards public health, counseling, social worker. So students who graduate from this program, they can move on and transfer to four-year school to pursue careers that are close to public health, mental health. Nursing can also be in mental health. So we do have courses, mental health nursing. So when you graduate, if this is your passion and you want to work as a registered nurse in a psychiatric field, you can go ahead and do it. Once you get your nursing license, you can go ahead, and eventually you can transition and get your master's, and you become a nurse practitioner, psychiatric nurse practitioner, and you can prescribe medication and basically be sort of like what doctors do. You can practice as a nurse.
Thank you for that too. Great points. One other question related to healthcare. It says, is it true that an RN isn't enough now, an RN degree, that a BSN, I think Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, is the minimum for a good nursing job?
Well, before pandemic, yes, it's a majority of hospitals and healthcare facilities prefer nurses with the bachelor's degree, because bachelor's degree is considered to be more well-rounded, where you're well-versed not only in technical skills, but also in people skills and soft skills, so such as cultural competence. This is something that is only briefly touched upon in associate's degrees, because you have to study so much within 2 years. But during pandemic, everybody was very much interested in our graduate students. So students have not graduated yet, and everybody wanted to hire them. So I guess it depends on the time, when the time is right. But yes, generally speaking, if you do earn your associate's degree at some point, hopefully within 5 years or so, you do want to get your bachelor's degree, which is only really 1 or 2 years on top of it.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for any of our panelists? You can either unmute yourself and ask, or you can write them in the chat. Give everybody a moment to think.
I think I would like to chime in really quickly and ask Mr. Paisley one quick question. Um, I came in a little late because I was actually a little caught up at an appointment. But I kind of missed his segment. But I did hear that he assisted public speaking and all, and he does business. So I wanted to ask, uh, to start from pretty much nothing, having really no money to even start a business. What pointers might you be able to give to actually launch your business? How would you say it? What would you say is the best method to utilize in order to be able to move forward with the dream that you really want to pursue?
So one thing I'll say is that in order to make money, a lot of times you hear you have to have money to make money. That is absolutely not true. Pedro, do you have a cell phone? Pedro, do you have a cell phone? Pedro, you're muted if you're answering the question. Can you unmute?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It actually it's kind of in and out my service. Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, what I'm saying is if you have a cell phone, think about this. You probably have some type of specialized knowledge, or you could actually just do some research to gain some specialized knowledge, and you could record a video on your phone and upload that video to YouTube. And one way to make money is if that video goes viral. Now, if you want to be more intentional, then what you could do is one thing I'll say, the very first business I started was around writing business plans. And all I did was read 5 different books on how to write plans. And then I went out and spoke to entrepreneurs and said, hey, do you have a business plan? And they said, no. And I said, would you like me to write your business plan to help you get capital? And what do you think the answer was? That's how I started, just doing some research on how to write a business plan. So the business plan, if you're thinking about writing a business plan for your business, there's a book called The Successful Business Plan by Rhonda Abrams. The Successful Business Plan by Rhonda Abrams. So you can write your plan with that book, and you could potentially write other plans with that book. But again, if you have a cell phone, you have innumerable opportunities by which to make money, because you can research a topic and essentially become an expert in that topic and create a video and target people that just don't know anything about that topic, and they will pay you some money. So one thing I'll say is I forwarded you my direct email, and we can have a sideline conversation after this event, and we'll look at some of your ideas and we'll see if we can take them to the next level. How does that sound?
That sounds wonderful. I greatly appreciate it.
All right. I have a saying that the more I give, the more I get. So I'm selfish in my giving. I give as often as I can.
I greatly appreciate that very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. So I'm seeing also in the chat that Barbara has shared an email that you can get in touch with if you have specific questions about the health sciences programs. And I also got a message from a student asking about contact information for our panelists tonight. I will leave that up to the 6 of you. It's completely up to you, obviously. If you are open to receiving questions from students later or connecting with them on anything, just go ahead and leave whatever the best contact info is in the chat. If not, again, it's completely okay, but I just want to give that opportunity to everybody. And I think we have time for one last question before we close out, if anybody has another question. All right. Thank you so much to all our panelists for these stories and these insights that you have for us. I've learned a lot. I hope it's been helpful to all our students who are listening. I want to give time, as I said, at the end. We have Brian Mason with us from CCPD, who's going to spend some time talking a little bit more about general job search and networking and that kind of thing. And to all of our panelists who have joined us for this evening, you're very welcome to stay in case anybody has extra questions or you just want to listen in. But I want to let you off the hook, you know, if you have other things to get to. I know it's kind of an interesting time right now. So that's just to let everybody know. Brian, are you with us?
Yeah, right here.
Hi, thank you for joining us. So could you just start off by maybe introducing yourself and letting us know what you do at LaGuardia?
Well, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Brian Mason, and my main objective, or what I do at LaGuardia, is that I'm a career engagement coach. And what does that really break down to is there's a lot going on when you go to college, right? You got to take care of assignments, personal life, and a variety of other things that may come into play while you're going through that journey. And students usually forget about one of the main reasons why they're going to college is to gain a better career or more opportunity in their career. And that's where I come in. So I kind of keep you on track as far as what skills, kind of making you cognizant of the skills that you're learning in your classroom and how you can use those skills to put on your resume or to show a possible employer that you are capable of doing the job and you're qualified to do a task that they have for you successfully. So I'm your I like to call myself your career Yoda. I'm the one who kind of says, okay, let's put this together, and here's how you could present yourself as a qualified candidate for positions.
Excellent, thank you. So I'll let all of you, again, all of our students who are on this call, you can think about some questions that you'd like to ask and either write them in the chat or you can write them down to remember them, right? But just to give you a few minutes, I'm going to start with a general question about this very unique time that we're in when, you know, we think about interviewing and job searching as a really like person-to-person social activity, right? So when we're in this time of everybody being remote for the most part, they might be doing job searching or networking or looking for internships virtually and not in person. What advice can you offer for students on, you know, what do they have to keep in mind when we're in this virtual environment?
That's a really good question. I could answer that in a variety of different ways. The main I guess main advice that I would recommend to students now is to get your name out there as much as you can. So there's not really that much opportunity for us to network and to get our names out there. So I highly recommend using LinkedIn, freshening up your LinkedIn account or your LinkedIn profile, and start to follow or start to interact with organizations that you are interested in working for or being a part of. That's one of the main strategies that employers recommend for us to pass on to students, as well as like, you know, following these organizations on social media accounts. This will give you an opportunity to see what kind of events are coming up or what sort of opportunities they're about to put out there, because there are a lot of companies that are considerate of the situation that we all are in right now as far as the job market, and they do have programs, not necessarily internships, but allow our students to be able to gain direct knowledge of how the industry works, how that organization works, and that's a good opportunity as well. So getting your name out there, freshening up your social media accounts, freshening up your LinkedIn account, and start to connect with those organizations you are interested in. To sum it up.
Great, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Any questions from any of our listeners from Ryan, either in the chat or you can unmute yourself? If not, I'll keep going with some of mine.
I like to think that I'm just that clear. That's why I don't get that many questions.
Yeah, you are very clear. So to give everybody a little bit more time, I'm looking at a question I actually got from a student before this panel in our anonymous form, and I think it's interesting. I want to pitch it to you and just see what you think. She says that she is interested in after graduating doing remote work. So everybody's working remotely right now. Not everybody. Many folks are working remotely right now. So I think maybe the student is thinking about in general, like in the long-term future, if it's somebody who maybe has an interest in doing work from home long-term because of their family responsibilities or some other situation that they're in, where do you start with that? You know, what are some fields to look into? I mean, it's a very broad question.
Right. Yeah. I mean that was the first thing I was going to say. It really kind of depends on the field that they're interested in working in. Like obviously when it comes to STEM, coding, data analyzing, and any sort of position relating to tech and computer science and computer programming, there's a lot of opportunities to work from home. There's also a lot of that's for that industry. The other industry I would have to say that everyone's really picking up as far as work from home is actually the counseling and teaching and tutoring actually type of positions, but those are more on the freelancing side of it. There's a lot of opportunities also available in home care. So if you do have some sort of nursing license or something in that relations or some sort of certifications, I do believe that there are some opportunities out there for you to do, just consultations or interactions, basic things, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, so tutoring and for the most part, computer science.
Great, thank you. That is helpful. Another question came in the chat. Do you have any recommended YouTube videos or websites on the most effective way to freshen up your LinkedIn profile?
Oh, well, well, I do actually, this gives me an opportunity to plug CCPD and some of the services that we offer. We do offer a LinkedIn workshop every Wednesday. I could send you the link once this is over.
Great, yeah.
That we can, all you would need to do is on Blackboard. So all you would need to do is click it it's every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And I hold a LinkedIn workshop, and I really kind of focus on not necessarily the tech aspect of setting up your LinkedIn. It's more focused on what employers are looking for when they're breaking down your LinkedIn or when they're making a decision to call you in or not, right? So what are the sections that me as an HR representative, what are the sections that would grab my attention when I'm looking and analyzing your LinkedIn? So that's what we really focus in on. And then in addition to that, if you would like to make like personal appointments with me or one-on-one appointments with me while I'm on duty at LaGuardia, you can definitely set up an appointment. Just send me an email and then we could work something out, and I can do a sit down and focus right in on your profile. So yeah, we have opportunities. So you don't necessarily have to go to a YouTube. You actually have live human beings who are willing and here and able to kind of help you out and to help you set up your profile.
Great, thank you so much. And as I said to other panelists, if you have, the best ways to contact either you or your office or whatever online resources that students should connect to at LaGuardia, if you could put that in the chat, then the folks who are here can
For
see
my email, I could definitely do that.
whatever you prefer. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you.
These are good questions.
So any other questions for Brian while we have him here? Any other comments? Thank you. Yeah.
If like while we wait, just a piece of advice that I would recommend. One of the panelists had a piece of encouragement for you guys to keep on going, and I would definitely endorse that highly. When we started the pandemic, or when we started the shutdown in March, we were bombarded in a way with a large amount of workshops and panels, industry panels, that from different industries giving us advice as career advisors on what to pass on to you as students. It was a consensus, right, of all of them just saying, hey, it most likely is going to be tough in the job market for this foreseeable future. We don't know, right? But we encourage you to pass on to the students to keep building on their skills. And one of the best places to build and challenge yourself and to sharpen your skills is in education, and to continue to educate yourself. LaGuardia has a lot of different programs, almost too much programs to kind of help you to move forward. So I highly recommend that you take the opportunity to use these assets that you do have available and sharpen these skills, and then use the assets you have to package yourself, so that when everything does open, which we know it will, especially in STEM. I know I'm hearing a lot of murmurs in the infrastructure industry as far as green development. By the time those grants and packages get to New York City, you or the student should be ready and well packaged to meet and to apply to these jobs and to be successful in getting an opportunity. So keep on working at it.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Any last questions? I'm not going to make everybody sit for 10 minutes if there aren't. I think it's been a long enough week. I just want to give an opportunity if anybody's being shy. All right, everyone. So to our panelists who are still with us, thank you so much. I've really, really enjoyed hearing from you. I think from what I'm seeing in the chat that our students have as well. This is just incredibly valuable. It's rare that we get to spend time together and just listen from people who have such a wide array of experiences. So really, thank you. I'm going to stay in this meeting until 7:30 if any of our students have a question for me about anything that they want to follow up on from tonight. But again, thank you all. If you're going back to class, have a great class. Stay well and be safe, and take care of yourselves.